So with the resolve and support of the American people, we will restore honesty and integrity to our elections, and we will restore trust in our system of government. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.
Wow. Wow, that was truly something, folks. I just watched Trump's 46-minute video that he just released on his YouTube channel. He's also sharing it on other social media platforms. And I just had to pick up a camera and give you guys my reaction as soon as I'm done watching it, because think for a second. President of the United States, one of the most powerful men on the planet. And what does he choose to label his video today? He chooses to label it as, this may be the most important speech that he has ever made. And it truly may very well have been. And it is exactly what the patriots and people like myself have been calling for him to do. The power that this man has sitting there in the White House, be able to use a camera and to give a speech from the White House, from the Oval Office, from the Resolute desk, wherever he chooses to do so, has so much weight. We're not in a full-blown civil war yet in the hot sense. There's no bullets flying, and thank God for that. That is not where we want this to go. Where we are is in an information war. Where we are is in a propaganda war. That's why half the country believes one way and the other half believes another way. That's why one news station promotes such talking points or facts, and then you flick to another news station and it has totally different opinions. This is an information warfare we're in. So Trump, the President of the United States, when he gets and makes these speeches from the White House, has so much weight behind them, has so much power. And you know it does by the fact that the mainstream medias choose to not even cover them. Because the information is so powerful that even covering it, spin isn't just enough. Because people can see through the spin and think critically. So what do we see in this video? Well, you've seen the President of the United States in the White House basically say that there's a coup going on. That the Democrats are trying to steal the election. He brought up charts, he talked about data, he talked about proof. And it was a call to his base, his supporters, the patriots, and patriots in the military and in government to do the right thing. He talked about Dominion. He talked about other technologies and programs and systems that were used to switch votes. He talked about how the votes just magically stopped counting supposedly around 3 or 4 in the morning, and then they found these truckloads of mail-in ballots that trickled in after that throughout the night. And then he was winning by such a margin early on in the morning, or early on in the day, and then he wakes up in the morning and he's just lost by a slim hair. And most people can see through this. He even did a nice thing and called out China and said China certainly is benefiting from all this chaos, which I think was a poignant point to make. And maybe he was pointing the finger at maybe a culprit, someone who has been meddling themselves in this election. He talked about how for 4 years it's been Russia, 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 and they tried to impeach a duly elected president. And most importantly, he talked about how this was about the integrity of the American election system, and that he has to do this not for political reasons, but just it's the right thing to do to get to the bottom of this. And this is what we need. This is what we need of the president. And I'm glad he's finally taking the advice. Whether if he is or he knew these things and he's just acting on it. I also have been calling, and along with a bunch of the patriots, we need to see pardons. Roger Stone was a nice start. Pardon Roger Stone. Next, we've seen General Michael Flynn. That was an awesome pardon. Great. Let's keep it up, Trump. Let's take it to the next level. Let's pardon Julian Assange, who has been through enough, and let's pardon Edward Snowden. Why? Because it was Edward Snowden, who was a patriot and who was a whistleblower, to expose a lot of the Obama, Bush, Clinton, Brennan, Clapper spy operations that were going on, spying mass surveillance on the American population, who were also using those tools to spy on you, Trump, like you said, when you were coming into office and after. Julian Assange was a key factor in you winning the election. You know, he helped expose the corruption in the Hillary Clinton, the Podesta family, the Podesta emails. And it showed that these people have used, been blackmailed and have enriched themselves with lobbyist money. So I think Trump's going to win this thing. He's going to be reelected. But let's say in the worst case scenario that he's not. It is utmost important that he pardons these people who played such a pivotal role in exposing the corruption of his enemies. So I'm hoping that's the next thing that he listens to us about and does. But so far, this is great. This is exactly what we need to see with this speech tonight from the White House. And you know what it reminded me of when I was watching it? It reminded me of a speech where he's kind of like prepping his supporter base for potentially military indictments or people going to jail and the military coming in and restoring order. Because, you know, there's two ways, there's two things, there's two sides of how coup attempts can happen. Sometimes the military is trying to gain control, or sometimes the military is used to stop people from gaining control. And, you know, we have seen in third world countries and we have seen in foreign countries, militaries have gone in before and helped quell coups or even done coups. So I think this is what we're seeing right now, and this is what I've detailed in some of my previous videos about how this is why Trump panders very highly to the military. And even in this speech, he also panders and talks about how, you know, the military is doing a great thing at the very end of his speech. Because Trump went to the CIA, he went to the FBI, he went to the NSA, and he realized that these were the agencies that he thought were going to do the right thing and, you know, start arresting some of their own for all the corruption, the blackmailing that's going on, the bribery. And in fact, they did not. And Trump realized that it was actually a bunch of Obama, Bush, Clinton holdovers working in a lot of these agencies and were actually colluding to try to take him out as president. So, like I've detailed before, you know, the President of the United States doesn't have very much powers over these agencies. But what he does have a lot of power over, he's the Commander-in-Chief. He's head of military. And that's where I get a lot of my information from. I like to study military intelligence. And I like to listen to the generals who Trump has surrounded himself with, the strategists. If you go and listen to all these guys, they know what happened. They all say that there's a coup attempt going on. They all say that the President Trump won. And what I see very well happening, and why, you know, majority of it going on right now, is over the public's head. Most people can't comprehend. So that's why I think it's being done behind closed doors. It's being done through military courts, through the FISA courts, and through these hidden courts. You might see some of it go through the public courts, but a lot of it will go through the hidden military courts. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of it has national security implications. And a lot of it, the public is just, they could never handle because it may cause a civil breakdown. So this is what I think is happening. This is also why you see A.G. Barr having a meeting with the Secretary of States, the Chief of States and stuff like that, the military generals at the White House the other day. You know, he also, A.G. Barr came out and said he had no proof of any voter fraud or election meddling, and then he has this meeting with the generals. We'll see if he keeps that same talking point now after the meeting with the generals, Or will he even get himself fired? Hopefully. So that's what I think is going on right now. You know, Obama, Brennan Clapper, all these individuals, they use the FISA courts, they use these hidden courts to spy on the Trump team, the Trump administration, Trump family members. And they use these programs to spy on Trump. So now Trump is in power and he is aware of all their corruption. You think he is not using these same powers that were used against him, against his enemies then? And he has a legal justification. And Trump probably knows if he looks, well, there's probably a lot of dirt in these individuals' closets. Hillary Clinton's, the Bushes, the Podestas, people like that. So this is what I think is going on. This is what I think it's always been. This is where, you know, the whole Q movement came from. And where a lot of even mainstream reporters and alternative media reporters, we get a lot of our information is through military leaks. Military plays a key role in propaganda domestically, whether it's the good guys or the bad guys doing it. So that's what I think is going on. That's why, where DNC servers were handed to some people, I think a lot of these internal leaks were done by our own military guys, patriots in the military. The whole Q movement, think, what is Q? Q is Q clearance, military terminology as well. General Flynn, Doug Mastriano down in Pennsylvania. You have the other general coming out against the Scorecard and Hammer programs and who has first-hand knowledge of those programs. And see, what the government can't do is they can't just come out and say, hey guys, we have these programs called Scorecard and Hammer, and we know they're very effective in stealing elections because as the United States of America, we have used these programs on other countries to make sure that our puppet heads stayed in power so we could continue to dominate the globe and have military operations and bases around the globe and overseas. And a lot of the public doesn't understand that, yes, our governments here at home are constrained by our Constitution, by our Bill of Rights from maybe, let's say, outright spying on the domestic population. But foreign countries are not. So let's say Germany, for example, says to America, we'll spy on your public, on your population, you spy on ours, and we exchange data. And then that kind of is a loophole around the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, is it not? This is why you maybe have American CIA intelligence agencies cooperating and having operations and facilities and servers being operated in Germany. And potentially military operations to raid those servers and to obtain and gather that data and bring it back to Trump and the Patriots. And I would encourage Trump, look at the Hillary Clinton 33,000 emails. They're out there. Get your military guys on it. Get the brightest. Get all that technology that we have. Look at the Anthony Weiner laptop. Look at the insurance file. Look at what the NYPD officer's seen. And then, of course, look at the Hunter Biden laptop, which you've already probably seen some of it since your personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, had it and potentially still has a lot of this stuff in his custody. And you'll see what we're dealing with. And Trump knows what we're dealing with, and he knows what we're up against. And that's why he kind of goes milquetoast to the public and gives you just enough where you can accept it. But he can't come out and tell you the whole truth. So don't worry, folks. A lot of good things are going to happen. And it's playing out exactly how I suspected it would. Trump will be reelected. Why, you may ask, and how can I say this with such confidence? Well, when you have generals like Doug Mastriano, when you have generals like Michael Flynn, when you have generals through all branches of the army and military, who, Trump's biggest supporters were military, were cops, and were patriot types, nationalists, people who love the country. And when those type of people believe in their heart, whether the left can say it's real factual beliefs or not, forget it. Let's throw that aside. Let's give the left the benefit of their doubt. Let's say that they are right, that all these generals and all these Trump patriots that we're all just out to our lunch. But even if we are, we truly believe that the election was stolen from us. And when I say us, I'm from Canada, so I say it in a metaphor sense. But if these generals truly believe this, and when you listen to them, it sounds like they do. These are the type of men that went over to battlefields and were willing to die for a job to protect the values and ideologies of America and what makes America great. You think they're not willing to die on the home front to protect that, especially when they have their own family roots living in these communities? If I were the deep state, if I were the control freaks that have been in power for so long and have ruled over the ruling class and have enriched themselves, the crony capitalists and the communists who think now that they can just expand their powers globally, back down. You don't know what monster you're awakening. Or maybe you do, and maybe you think you got enough fail-safe mechanisms in place. Maybe you think you got the robo-cops in place. Maybe you think you got enough foot soldiers. You got your getaway homes built deep enough in the mountains. But I don't think you do. Look at the men who you're going up against. Look at these battle-hardened generals. Look at the patriots. I'm glad I'm on the winning side. I'm glad I'm on the side that's for truth, that's for justice. You don't see the patriots rioting and destroying downtown businesses the same way you do those who are anti-patriot, those who are communists, those who are on the far left. You don't see the patriots wanting to lock everything up, hide in their house, and go act scared to death of this virus and destroy business globally. And as we shut down businesses, as we bankrupt ourselves in the first world, third world starve. So let's say the virus does kill 5 million people, 10 million people. A couple 100 million will die from starvation. So you know what? It's better off to just keep things trucking on, keep things open, right? By the old mathematical odds there. But no, it's not about facts anymore. It's about global domination. It's about control. It's about communism trying to spread their ideology. You also wonder why during all the COVID lockdowns such an attack on churches, right? Biden can win and have all of his supporters go out on the streets. Black Lives Matter can march up and down the streets and have their protest movements. But all these churches and these mosques and all these other religious gatherings get shut down due to COVID restrictions. Now, why is that? Well, we know communism, authoritarianism, they can't have you worship a god or religion because they need you to worship then the state. It's all about control. And General Michael Flynn and the Patriots and myself, we know this. And when we know this to our core, you're not going to win. Because when we know this, to this strength, and we feel it in ourselves, that we're right, that means people are willing to die for this. And that's not me making any claims or accusations. I don't need to. I have faith in the American military, and I think that's what's going to play out. I think Trump come out with this speech today that I just watched, and that I encourage all you guys to watch, to prep the American population, to prep the patriots, to prep the soldiers, to prep the military, to be on standby. The same way he always tells the Proud Boys, remember? Stand by, stand back. Because he knows the day will come when he will put the call out. And he knows that he has to do it this way because this way is the path of least bloodshed. Because these control freaks, when they're left to play with the levers of governance, a lot of people get hurt. So I would encourage you guys to go all watch that video. Because you won't realize its significance until months later down the road when you look back on it. And if I had to predict how it's going to transpire, you're going to see either the left or the Biden administration will back down. Either Biden will concede. Either something will happen, maybe a medical emergency. I don't know how they will spin it to save face, and he may back out. or if the deep state truly tries to push forward, if the communists try to take down America, the patriots, the generals, the army will restore power, will stop the coup. It's why when Trump comes out on Thanksgiving, he talks to every branch and thanks them personally in the military, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Space Force. And these are the individuals he's got working on restoring America's freedom and individual liberties. Because he has more power and sway over these people than he does these bureaucrats, the Mitch McConnells, the courts, the judges. So we'll see. It'll either happen in public view or it won't. And why it will happen is because most of these generals, the Secretary of Defense, their whole job is not only, their job is to protect America, to make sure that will remain the way it's always been. And I shared a video today as well of another general, I think his name's Milley, talking about how these generals are willing to lay down their lives to make sure America is defended, and we defend the Constitution. They take an oath to the Constitution, not to an individual. So these guys aren't going to just roll over. These guys aren't going to just let the communists take over. They're going to move in. They're going to restore order. And the crazy thing about it is me coming at it from a libertarian perspective, coming at it from an anarcho-capitalist philosophical understanding that I'm not even a proponent of government. I'm actually a voluntarist. I think taxation is theft. But how we've come so around that now libertarians are voting for Trump, and me and myself and other libertarians are actually welcoming martial law and the military to restore order. But if it's done in a manner that goes after these corrupt deep state agents, the swamp creatures, then maybe this is what has to happen. Maybe we have to use the tool of government to go after these people. Lawfully, peacefully, and using the justice system and the Constitution that was laid before us. So I'm going to end this now. I don't want to ramble on too long. It's been 20-some minutes here. But like I said, I encourage you guys, please, go check out the video. And when I do these videos, I'm speaking to the future. I know that a lot of people that I talk to who watch this video right now, there'll be those who have done their enough research, who have critical thinking, who listen to things I say and realize that I'm not just talking out my ass. I'm getting all this talking points from listening to military intelligence, from listening to the president, from listening to generals, from listening to strategists. And these are the things that they are saying and they believe. And that's fine. You guys don't have to believe it. History will prove everything right. That's the beautiful thing. If I say tomorrow it's going to rain and you say no it's not and tomorrow it rains, well then I'm proven right. So time will prove everything right. So I'm speaking to the future. I'm speaking to those who are willing to listen, hear these ideas out. And those of you who don't, those of you think I'm lying and I'm wrong, who cares? I don't care. I don't care what you think. I'm here to document and research for future generations. The same way that I go on YouTube and I watch maybe Martin Luther King protesting, marching down the streets in those black and white videos and stuff. And I think, wow, this is cool. This is awesome that I can have a piece of history to look back on and review and reflect on. I need to do these videos so future generations can look back and review them and understand where Matthew Hunter at least stood in history and where I've seen everything was going. And everything I say is, for the most part, opinion. And it's what I come to the conclusion through my own research. This is what I think is happening in the world. This is what I think is playing out. You can believe it or you don't have to believe it. That's not for me to decide. So if you guys like my videos, make sure to like and subscribe. It's very important to get this information out. You can find me over on BitChute at Matthew _Hunter 1776. You can find me over at Rumble at Liberty Hunter 1776. And look for me on YouTube as well, Matthew Hunter or Matthew Hunter 1776. Get the information out. It's vital to keep it spread. We're in an information war. And that is the most important war. Very important. Just go read the Communist Manifesto and they understood that the information warfare was way more successful and effective than the physical brute violence means. So do your research, be well read in history, and we'll see you, Patriots, in the next video. Merry Christmas.